So we couldn't get enough. I never get bored with you guys. So we're just gonna jump right back in. Like we were talking about how, like Annie, you just mentioned like how you're just something that was a strength before you got with Taj is now a hindrance. Let's jump back into that. Let's talk about that again.
Yeah. So I was saying in the last episode, like I thrived, or I struggled with singleness in my early 20s. Towards the end of my 20s, like I just kind of was like, okay, like if God has me here, like I'm just gonna be here until like I'm not gonna be here. And so I just got really good at like I got better at making friends. I got really good at going out myself, like doing my own thing. And obviously I had no one to check in with. Fast forward, like now, it obviously wasn't an issue in the beginning, but now as Taj and I have began to like merge lives and like we're moving towards marriage, my hyper independence of not like checking in with anybody, like now, like I kind of, not that I owe him that, but like it's like a nice expected thing to, hey, like I actually am busy this weekend, so don't come up, or like things like that. They're like I don't think to check in with him, or I like if I'm struggling with something, it doesn't off the bat cross my mind to reach out to him and say, hey, like can you help me with this, or things like that. And so it's not that he gets like upset about it, but he's just like, hey, like I'm here now, like let me help you, let me take. And he's such a like acts of service person, like he just loves taking things off my plate. I struggle with asking him to take things off of said plate. And so, like the things that I felt like in my singleness, God was so pleased with me because I finally got good at being alone. Then my partner comes and I'm like, oh, like he has to help me with this, or I have to ask, or things like that. And so, it's now a weakness of mine.
Right. So I'll go next. Like, I know that I've always been very adaptable. I can like, adjust myself to almost any situation to like make it end up being better than if I wasn't there. Right. So that kind of thing of always kind of like trying to be the hero or whatever, like, or always being ready for somebody. It does help a little bit in our relationship, but I can't do that for everybody being in a relationship. I have to do that really. I have to focus that on my family, my wife. And, like I still like being adaptable to everybody's schedule only works if you're single. So if somebody says, hey, I need this, can you help cook this thing? Or can you help run this? And I'm like, oh, sure, I'll be there. I'll help out however I can. There's somebody I have to think about now. So I can't necessarily drag Martha to everything. And she would not have that either. Like she's not going to be running up and down to this and this and that if it doesn't like serve the vision that we have. Right. So,
are you and Jasmine brother and sister?
Maybe. Yes.
Nah, this guy used to try to drag me everywhere.
No. I'm
but I know what you're speaking to. I'm going to mention that. Yes.
That boundary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll definitely go next. So mine, oddly enough, my undergraduate degree was in communications, and I'm a communications practitioner. I'm a speaker, personal development coach. But in my marriage, I don't always communicate best with my wife. I just think she's supposed to understand like how I communicate and how I do things. And she was just like, I need you to not just give me one word responses. I need you to like break it down for me. I need for you to make sure that you just tell me specific things, just communicate things as to why you need it done. Like, I'm just, this is what we doing, but I have to communicate that. And it's just, I thought I was the greatest communicator. I'm like, yes, this is how you get a thought out to the world. And this is how you teach people to do it. But in my own personal home, the communication was lacking. And I'm working on that daily. So that's my thing.
So what he was speaking to as far as being related, I definitely was boundaries. And one thing about your partner, your spouse, God puts them in your life, I feel like, to be a boundary. And that boundary may be different things. And I definitely could relate to what you were saying with like just being there for everybody, you know, just wanting to, because I really love to help people. And if I could meet a need and you ask me if I'm like capable, I'm going to more than likely like commit to doing it or try to do it. But one thing that Zob really helped me with, even in our friendship and our courtship, he was already like wanting to protect those areas of my time. Even when we were dating long distance, he really did a good job at it. And it wasn't controlling or anything like that, just really him helping me to like see the value of my time and that, you know, you can't be everything to everybody. And what do you have for you as well? Because I would be so depleted, but I wouldn't even think about it. It would be such an afterthought because I was meeting the need of someone else, and that was what was in my foresight. But you know, he really, especially once he made it known like what his intentions were, it's like, hey, if we're going to have a future together, you're going to have to, that's going to look differently. And I actually am really grateful for that, because now I have some for myself. But to also, and to speak to what you were saying, Annie, about those seasons of like a strength before and now like a weakness in your relationship, I think about a switchboard and how there's levels to the different components, and whether, you know, it's audio, whether it's visual, and the combination of those levels to get the perfect picture or the perfect sound. It depends what elements are present. So when it was just you know, this could be turned all the way down and this could be turned all the way up. And then when you add another element to get the sound just right, we have to start leveling those things out. And so there's definitely, I feel like, an area of grace for our strength and our weaknesses, because what could be, I feel like when we think of the word weakness, it has like a negative connotation. I mean, weak is weak, right? But sometimes that attribute that could be a weakness can look like something else when it's paired with the strength of your partner, or there's a place or a time for it. You know, maybe a strength that I have, if overly expressed, appears as a weakness. So I need to know how to temper that strength and make space for, you know, coupled with the strength, another strength of my partner or something like that. So there's going to be that hyper independence that I also, you know, had a heavy dose of it before Zav. It may come in handy and look a different way, and maybe like a project we're doing together, or maybe if he's not home and I got to get something done and I'm just not sitting on my laurels like, oh, well, my husband's not here, I can't do it. You know, you just never know. But I think about there being, there's a time and place for it, but there's almost like the right combination of things together.
I got something for you. So strength is contextual.
Yeah.
So check this out. Which is stronger, a bucket or a teacup?
It depends what's in it.
And what it's made of.
Yeah.
That's true.
A steel industrial bucket.
Okay.
Which is stronger, a teacup or a steel industrial bucket?
Yeah.
Right. But which one are you bringing to the tea party?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because like the strength of the teacup is its grace, its elegance. It's like it can hold a liquid that's hot or cold in a way that is usable for the user. Ain't nobody drinking tea out of a
bucket.
Home Depot bucket. Yeah, right. So like different strengths apply in different situations. So, but and there's another thing I want to speak to what you said, like the helping people, wanting to help people, and like even to go further, like it's almost like, I'll speak for myself, that it can be like, I'm going to attach my self-worth to my ability to help this person. And that's why maybe I'll go the extra mile to make sure I'm there for this person. Why, you know? So what is it about these, you know, these strengths that we called out that are now weaknesses in our relationship? I feel like they can be tied to almost an anxiety about ourselves.
For sure.
Right? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Recovering people pleaser. I understand. Yep.
Same.
Wait, I have a question before we get into that, Devin, because I think the thing with Jasmine, and like I'm protecting her from the big bad wolf and the little ant, like from anybody and everything, that's straight up. That's just my personality. But I have a question for you, because what I noticed back then was that she was there for all these people, but when it was time for her to
Hello.
like need people, or you know, oh, you're moving and this, that, and the third, it's just like, no, where are all the friends that you? Oh, I'm out. This, that, and the third, and like that's big for me because y'all know me. My community is massive, right?
Yeah.
Like I can call, and I don't say this to like boast or brag, but like when people, and I probably mentioned this in season 1, when people say I only have 5 people, 1 person in my phone that I can call that I need, like I cannot relate. I know 50 people, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not capping.
Nope.
Like you guys, I'm talking about my family. I'm talking about people that I've been there for, right? So when in your case, when you were there for everybody, Martha had to reel it back in. Did you ever get to a point where it's just like, bro, like I'm doing all this, I'm tiring myself out, I'm just running myself ragged, for lack of better words, but these people are like not here in the same way with me. And the thing is, y'all are great people. All of us are great people, so to speak. None of us are good. Isn't the Bible say that? I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't know.
there's something in
All
there.
of us are great people. But what I mean by that is we don't do things to get something back in return. Like we don't do that. We do it because we're just kind, giving people. But the other side, you got to be real about the situation. Did you ever run into that? That's my question.
Did I run into situations where I feel like I'm there for all these people? Who's there for me?
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
But here's the thing. Like, not only was my ability to help part of what anchored how I felt about myself, but my ability to not need to ask help from other people as well. So I'm like here for everybody and then here for myself and
For
here for
sure.
everybody and here for myself. So I'm like carrying projects, almost like treating people like they're not human beings that can actually do stuff. Like, I'm like,
Oh my gosh, you're so mean.
you know, like I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. I can definitely help. They might not even need my help, but then I'm hesitant to like ask for help for myself. So like even at work, I'm the pharmacist in charge, right? I'm supposed to coordinate the team workflow and stuff. And I might have a call out and I might be like, okay, yeah, no problem. But I didn't call for anybody else to come substitute for that person because I'm like, let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. Like, without realizing that, hey, I'm at a deficit. I actually have a right to ask for help, especially from the people who are supposed to give me the people to help me, right? It's a challenge. I'm working on that now, like getting way better at delegating.
And you don't get any, I tell Jasmine all the time, you don't get any awards for that. For being
a tryhard.
right.
Yeah.
No awards, no medal, no trophy, nothing.
And to speak to his community, because I've married into that supportive community, this supportive community, which is such a blessing. It's so overwhelming that like I was so overwhelmed like during like our baby shower and just like some other events where we were blessed to celebrate with our community, because just to see people who are willing to do so many things for us and help, make sure that it was like a memorable experience, or just helping even just the like tedious kind of, things that I know I wouldn't have a problem to do for other people, but I felt self-conscious like having them do it, because I'm like, oh, I don't want them to feel like it was just so overwhelming. And again, I had to I was in tears because I had to look at it like, again, I didn't do anything that I've done for others to get something back, but it ministered to me like this. You're seeing the fruit of your deposits,
Wow.
the seeds that you planted or sown in other people's lives. Like this is God, like because God uses people on earth, right? To whether it's to bless us, to minister to us, or what like through our relationships. So this is a demonstration of God's love to you. This has nothing to do with you and what you've done. This is God showing you that he's got you, that he loves you, and that he's put people in your life, And so, but it's still just so overwhelming. It's like this mind. I'm like, I don't want to seem, insincere, like wanting to thank someone so much. But I'm like, I feel like I can't really express to you like how my gratitude to you because of like, I know I just met you and you're here, but it's like the things that I just never really, I feel like experienced, I guess, the me, if that makes sense. Not to be like, oh, but it's like, I know the extent, and sometimes hadn't really thought about it until Zav had to bring it to my attention. So to feel it as such a multitude from so many people, it's like so overwhelming, but in a beautiful way. But I still have to like adjust to it.
No, for sure.
Because imagine, Devin, like all the ways that you've been there for others, even if you thought they weren't capable, if they wanted to show up for you in the same way, like, could you handle that?
I think I I think I would appreciate it, and I would just be very grateful for it, because it's not often that somebody's like, hey, I see that this is tough for you. Let me step in. More often is like, oh, how can I help? And then now you have the mental burden of assigning somebody something, right? But like,
that's a mental burden from the delegation
I'm not
king.
kidding.
It can be, especially if you feel like you're just used to doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And also
Or the way you want.
That's
the
what I
way
was
you
gonna
want.
say. It's like delegating and things not getting done the way that I would have done it gives me so much anxiety, because I'm like, I'm so glad you helped, but actually, like, no, that's not the way I should have done it.
are we sharing a brainstorm right now? Like, that's me. Like, because I mean, when you are, accustomed to doing things,
You do it well.
You do it well, and then somebody comes in, oh, I'll help, and then they like, now you have to fix it.
Yes.
Like,
And sometimes we have to operationalize well, because as well what I would want, they may get it done, but because it isn't the way I want it, was it not done well? Not necessarily. But that's even something
That
God
is.
has, I feel like marriage has helped me with that a lot, to focus more on the getting done part. Even if it was done differently the way that I would want to do it, is the end result that we get there.
Right.
And
right.
a mentor of mine, she actually advised me in engagement. You got to make space for your husband. He's going to do things differently. He's a man. You're a woman. You're going to just do things differently. And that really stuck with me. And I feel like it's really helped just with like, you know what, it's done. Like, I wouldn't have done it that way, but it's fine. And I think that I knew it helped me to be just more relaxed and just be at peace with things. And it could be something so super, super small, but it can become a big thing for you on the inside because of the perception. But I also think too, going back to what you were saying, like you would receive it, and you would, it's not often that someone may like recognize those things. I think it's also important for us to realize too that going back to what I said about relationship and God's demonstration for like his love for us through the people in our lives, we could potentially get in the way of something that God may be having someone else to do on our behalf, because we may think we don't need the help, or we can't receive, or what have you. And to give an example, my grandmother has done a lot of unhoused outreach. That's her ministry. And she shared a story with me, we think of someone who's unhoused as like they don't have anything to give, or what they have, they need it because they're without a home. So we automatically perceive like they don't have money or have enough to give. They need all that they have. They need to keep it for themselves. So long story short, someone that she was doing outreach with wanted to give her a gift. And it was something like handmade, or it might have been like a bracelet or something like that. And she was having a hard time receiving it. And I said to her, well, my first initial thought was like, well, you need to be mindful, because that could have someone feeling like, oh, my thing that I want to give you isn't good enough. But then I thought about it too. I was like, Grandma, how do you, the same way that God has put you in place to like give to others, other people can give too. It may not be and it was never about like, oh, it wasn't sufficient or what have you. But in her mind, it was, you don't have much. Like, please don't give me anything, or I don't do what I'm doing to get anything from you. I don't want to take from you. But it may not have even been about the thing. It was about the giving.
Alabaster box.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so we have to make space for that to be reciprocal, or to be the other way in our lives. Who are we if if we're not able to receive from someone? That can be just as powerful for that person as it is for us to give to someone else. And whether that's our time, whether that's our talent, or what have you. And so I believe in relationship, that same thing, making space for each other in those ways where I know I can show up, but giving them the opportunity to do that, and how that can minister to them because they were able to be a blessing in that way.
Yeah. You just reminded me of something I read in the book Meaning of Marriage by Timothy Keller. And if Kiana and Jeremy, if you're watching, you're going to laugh, because I know they hate this book. But they say this particular situation, they actually think is hilariously, I won't shout out Timothy Keller in a negative light, but it kind of speaks to this where I think it was maybe a situation like he was going through something and his wife asked him, "Oh, how are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm fine," or whatever. He didn't actually verbalize with her what he was going through, and then when it actually came out, she got mad at him for denying her the opportunity to serve him because she wanted to be there for him in whatever capacity she wanted. I don't remember if I might have gotten it wrong, but because he was, I guess, zoned in on taking care of himself internally, he not only boxed her out, so that creates distance, he denied her the opportunity to help him with his need. And yeah, I'm probably been guilty of that because like I think it's a fear of when you express a need. It's something about having the need is painful enough, but expressing it and then it being dropped, like as if or not taken seriously, that's like triple the pain of having the need to begin with. So I know as a person who is hesitant to ask for help, like that asking for help and it being refused, I'm still working on that.
That's good.
I was thinking about what Jazz was saying. Sometimes when we are asking individuals to help us and it might be not be ideally how we want, we have to encourage ourselves and just know sometimes good is the enemy of great.
Yeah.
Just finish it, get it done, and it might be different than, like she said, different than you envisioned, but at least it got done. And if it got done in a level of excellence and care and consideration, I think all things must be considered.
Yeah, and even like I feel like every time like you say something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of another thing that I think I might be taking this away from the thing. But I remember hearing about an experiment like on children in classrooms, and one class was graded on it was pottery. One class was graded on making a perfect vase or whatever, and the other class was graded on the quantity of vases. Not only did the second class have a better end product than the first class, they also enjoyed it more. Because it was just like in doing, they got better.
I
Just
see
the
that.
reps. But as opposed to agonizing over one and trying to get it right without actually doing, the
this
ones,
is imperfect. Oh, this has a blemish. Oh, this is not straight. Oh,
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but if you're doing it and it's like, oh, this is what this one's like. Okay, let's fix this, that. Do it again. It's better. Do it again. It's better. And then, but if you have 100 at the end versus one, that 100th it's gonna be way better. So
That makes so much sense.
yeah. So when it comes to, I guess, sharing your life with somebody, when it comes to revealing yourself, being vulnerable, letting somebody see your weakness, first try is gonna be tough. Second try is gonna be tough. Third try is gonna be tough. But on that 20th, 30th, 40th, maybe it'll get a little easier. On that 50th, maybe they'll learn how to receive your vulnerability. Maybe on the 100th, you guys are pros. And then you go to level 2, where now is a new level of vulnerability that you're reaching together. Like I do think we're running out of time again. Oh, we actually have a little bit longer. Okay. Last thoughts. What you got for us?
Skip me.
I'll kick this off. I'm very big on vulnerability. I feel like vulnerability is a big part of the authenticity that is needed for a meaningful relationship.
Yeah, because if you think you got it all, then you're gonna be just straight by yourself. Like you won't be able to have anybody to hold hands with.
Right, and that's why I said meaningful relationship.
Right, because as men, it's really difficult for a lot of us to be vulnerable for whatever reason, childhood trauma or what have you. So just know, if you're watching this and you're a woman, in order for your man to be vulnerable, just make sure you're creating that safe space for said meaningful relationship. Because if we don't have a safe space, it's not going to be, if you feel like you're going to be judged or condemned or just disregarded, no one is going to be vulnerable. And so that meaningful part is incredibly key, but also creating that safe space where individuals don't feel like, okay, well, I was vulnerable this one time. And again, you're not going to always understand the vulnerability, you're not going to understand like, well, this is again trauma, and that's why
Right.
therapy. A lot of us are in therapy right now because we're like, okay, I need to unearth these things or bring language to the thing that I went through. I'm in my marriage. I'm seeing this. I'm not understanding why this is a trigger. These are just real things that individuals go through. So definitely creating that safe space is what I have to add to that vulnerability piece.
Wow. I always, you already know. I'm about to gush over these people and just like it. This is like, I wish I was in therapy right now. But this is like a healing. This is healing. This is great. So as we have healed together, I pray at home that you guys also go through your own journeys and, as usual, heal responsibly. And thanks for being part of this family. And I'm just grateful every day. See y'all next time. Peace.